Hello, everybody, and welcome back to our final panel of the day in our Fashion and the Circular Economy presentation as part of the Circular Fashion Week. If you don't know, this is also Waste Reduction Week, which is part of a national movement, and it is Circular Economy Month as well. So those are two great tie-ins to the things that we're doing as part of the Circular Fashion Festival, which was began as a collaboration with the City of Guelph and just grew and grew into this week-long festival where we've been able to bring in all kinds of people and partners from across North America, which is really amazing. There's another event that I did want to talk about Wednesday at noon, Nordic Talks by the Harbourfront Center. You can sign up through the link in our bio, but they're partnering speakers from Canada and from Nordic countries as well to talk about the future of fashion. So another super exciting event that we've added to our lineup, 8 events in total over 7 days, each with a unique perspective and all kinds of different activities hands-on for you to be doing as well. And for this final presentation, we have Elly from Double Dipped joining us, and I see they've just entered, so I will invite them in and we can get started. Hello.
Hey, how are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm great. Yeah, it's been but I'm really happy to be here. Thanks so much for having me on. Yeah.
Thanks for agreeing to join us today. So I'll get you to introduce yourself and talk about what it is you do and how you're part of the sustainable fashion community.
Yeah, of course. Every time I get asked this question, I feel like I have a different response just because I'm always talking to different audiences. So I'll say that my name is Elly Grant. I've been running Double Dipped, which is an upcycled clothing company, for about 6.5 years now. I started it up in the Yukon, which I'll talk a little bit more about in some of my other question responses. But I've moved a lot to different communities. So I feel like my involvement in the sustainable fashion community has been like kind of across Canada. And in each place that I move to, I get to kind of share my love for upcycling and sewing and reuse fabrics through the work that I do. So yeah, I am a self-taught sewist, so I've kind of taken that on both as a creative person to learn sort of creative skills, but also coming from a background where I was raised with a lot of environmental um, sort of education and understanding of how to sort of participate in a more ethically responsible society. So that definitely, I think, shows through my work and kind of, yeah, I think an underlying reason why Double Dip was created in the first place. Mm-hmm.
Amazing. So how did you get started in this industry?
Yeah, so I think I have a really interesting story. I feel like, as cliche as it sounds, um, I think sustainable fashion sort of found me, and I didn't necessarily seek it out. So in the summer of 2016, was looking for work, and I applied to work at a bakery up in the Yukon because they had free staff accommodation. That was really like one of the the main reasons I wanted to go up there. But I also remember before leaving to really Yukon, I had this feeling that I wanted to start hand sewing again as an activity while I was up there. So yeah, because I was going to be in a really small town and not know many people, I wanted to have a hobby that could kind of carry me through my days off. So when I arrived, I actually found out that there was a fashion and textile artist residency that was starting up. And it just felt like this very serendipitous moment of me sort of going up there on a whim with this idea in mind to start sewing, and then finding that this program was happening for fashion and textile artists. So over the course of that summer, I started sewing my own things, and then I became really close friends with the artist in residence who um, actually is now in Aurora. So again, I'll kind of get to that as we go through the interview today or the chat today. But yeah, she taught me how to do some fashion design work, so basic pattern drafting, using a machine, getting a better understanding of materials. And through that, I was able to start building out my own designs and kind of growing my audience. And so Double Dip really started as, yeah, I would say like a passion project, a way for me to kind of express myself and my creativity. And it grew into something much bigger than I could have ever imagined. So,
Yeah, it just kind of grows, right?
yeah,
Um, I'm just going to turn my furnace off
yeah,
because the heat just kicked in and it's causing a bit of feedback on my end. So just give me 1 second.
no problem.
Hopefully that shuts my furnace off temporarily. I'm having a little bit of trouble hearing you with it in the background, so
Okay.
just sorry about that. So, were there any particular businesses or organizations that inspired you on this journey, or?
Hmm. I mean, I think I owe a lot of my um, sort of early inspiration and understanding of the technical skills. So I think to Jackie. So Jackie lives.
I'm losing my connection with you a little bit.
Okay. Here, one moment. I will just
Sorry.
try.
Okay.
Is that any better?
No, it's still coming in quite pixelated for me. I'm not sure if folks watching are able to see, but it's cutting out your audio and the video as well.
Okay. Just one moment. I'm going to come off the live for one moment, and I'll just check my settings, and then I'll be back on in just 1 second. Yeah.
Okay,
Sorry about.
thanks. No worries. If you're just joining, we're just paused momentarily while we work out some tech issues. We're having our first slowdown of the day, but it's bound to happen with a live stream. We got to rely on 2 strong internet connections. So I'm going to try to make some adjustments on my end, and I'll be right back. And if you are just tuning in, yes, I can use this opportunity to tell us something about the Guelph Tool Library. So we are a member-based lending library of tools located in downtown Guelph. You can sign up for a membership in person or online, and memberships start at $60 per year. They allow you to borrow from an inventory of almost 1,300 tools. So you can borrow up to 10 items at a time for up to a week at a time. There are some items that are only 3-day loans, and then there are a few specialty items that have extended loan periods, like our seed heating mats and our fermentation crock, because it just takes longer to do those projects. So you can visit us in Old Quebec Street Mall downtown. We're open Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays, and our hours are on our website. You can also browse our entire inventory online as well. And if anybody has any specific questions about the tool library, I'd be happy to answer those while we're waiting for Elly to return. Let's try this one more time. All right.
Hi.
Welcome back.
Sorry about that. I realized that I hadn't ever connected to my internet. I'm in a new apartment, so I think it should be working now. Yeah,
All right. Excellent. I can hear you loud and clear.
great. Glad.
Perfect. So if we could just loop back to how you got into this industry,
Sure.
that'd be great.
Yeah. So I think I was earlier describing my move up to the Yukon in 2016. I went there with the intention to start sewing, and there ended up being a fashion and textile residency happening in this very small town that same summer. And so I got connected with the artist there who was up there for the residency. Her name is Jacqueline Van Kampen. She's actually based in Elora now, so I'll speak to that in a little bit. But yeah, Jackie and I became quite good friends, and she was able to help me take my hand sewing to machine sewing and learn a bit more about pattern drafting and design and using different materials. So yeah, really got my start sort of with her and with that residency program coming on as a co-coordinator that first summer in 2016. And then from there, I went back to Squamish where I was going to school and started selling my things in person through markets, and then built out an Instagram a few years later. And then since then, I've grown a lot of my following sort of online. I do a lot of custom work for people. I mainly work with upcycled t-shirts, quilting cotton, both of which I either find at thrift stores, or a lot of things I've managed to get donated. And yeah, I work mainly with reused fabric, and yeah, really have tried to have a zero waste policy with the work that I do. So yeah, and as of right now, I haven't been able to work on double dipped as much as I'd like. I'm in grad school, but yeah, I'm very much part of like fashion and textile sort of communities across Canada based on all the places I've lived. So yeah.
That's perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much. And some organizations or businesses that you've connected with or that have inspired some of what you're working on.
Totally. Yeah. So as I mentioned, Jacqueline Van Campen, she goes by sort of Studio Campina is her design name. And yeah, she's based in Elora now. So I just find that really kind of uncanny that we met all the way up in the Yukon and now we're sort of based in a very similar region of Ontario. But yeah, I really owe a lot of my inspiration to her because she was the first person that really showed me how to work in fashion and yeah, work with fabrics and materials. I also see, I think Toby's on here, but I do want to give a huge shout out to him because I think we've yeah, had some really cool collaborations over the past few years, and
Mm-hmm.
similar sort of eye and approach to sewing. So just a shout out to him. And yeah, many other people. It's hard to name them all, but I think anybody who's interested in taking yeah repurposed fabric and turning that into something new, they're good in my books. So, yeah.
Awesome. And Jacqueline is also one of our vendors on Saturday at
Yeah.
the Swap and Sale, and Toby is teaching our sewing machine repair and maintenance workshop.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we love and know them and
Hmm.
value their expertise as part of this industry.
Definitely.
So that's amazing that you're connected to both of them as well.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah. So, what are some of the challenges or roadblocks that you faced as a creative professional in this industry?
Hmm. So what I had kind of jotted down earlier today when I was thinking about these questions is that I think running a fashion business is very difficult. For a number of reasons. I think, first of all, trying to communicate to people that what you're making is not just some like random piece of clothing. It's something that's taken time and energy and a lot of thought and care. And so I think that the right people will come to you and appreciate that, but trying to really market that and doing that as a sort of a solo business person, entrepreneur, if you will, it just takes a lot of time and energy, and you want to be able to do something that you love and make a living off of it, but you don't want to burn yourself out. So I think that to me is really the biggest roadblock is just how to like maintain like kind of a level head and make the things that you love and kind of get the word out there about what it is that you're making and the care that you're putting into it, but not sort of selling out or like yeah misinterpreting what the real aims are of that business. So I think that would be number one for me. I've really had to take a step back from some of my making this year just to sort of reevaluate my time and energy. And yeah, I was able to sort of work on a project in the past year where I was highlighting how long it can actually take to make a garment. So I worked on a sweatsuit piece, and that was featured in the Retro Runway e-magazine. So they were a local organization, or I guess a group of students in Guelph putting together a publication about sustainable fashion. And my
Mhm.
in that was yeah, trying to draw attention to like how long it can actually take to make something. So that's always what I'm trying to do in my business, and just trying to have that known more is I think really important.
Mhm.
Um, and yeah, another thing too uh, yeah, it's just starting up. Like when every time you move, you have to find your people again. So though it is a small world of sustainable fashion folks, it is yeah, that's another thing, just to know that the community that you're in is going to value and appreciate the work that you're doing, and trying to kind of like convince others who might not know about it, or yeah, want to learn more, bring them onto it. So yeah, I'd say those are the two most challenging things for me in my practice in particular. Hmm.
Mhm.
Yeah,
We have a audience question.
yeah,
It says, "I love when you did the fast fashion game show, and I would love to see it again. Can you tell us a little about that?"
sure. Yeah. So I don't know if Caleb is still on here, but Caleb is a videographer in Guelph and was part of a collective of young people called Bummeroo. And I had approached Bummeroo. So Bummeroo, yeah, is an art collective. They do a bunch of programs. I think they had a festival going on for a while. They're doing some video features. And part of their festival, I think it was in 2020, was this fast fashion video. So I had approached them with this idea to put on yeah, I guess a game show, a fast fashion challenge. I think the editing made it come out a little bit more as like a game show style, but the original idea was to yeah, myself and Toby trade mystery bags with cut patterns and a couple supplies as we needed, and then we figure out which pattern pieces were which and how to sew them together. And we had 20 minutes to do so. So it was really fun, and I would totally love to do it again if anybody wants to challenge me, or we could set up a series of other videos with other makers. Like, yeah, it would be hilarious and a really cool like kind of Guelph based video project and fashion project. Yeah.
That
So
sounds like a lot of fun.
yeah,
Maybe something we could put together for the next Circular Fashion Festival.
totally. Yeah. Yeah.
And Bummeroo are also Tool Library members. I signed them up for their membership probably 3 years ago. So that's exciting that you have worked with them as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're so connected.
I mean, I'm from Guelph, so I think that I don't know some of the other folks I think on the live and that are involved in the festival are like, well, like maybe Guelph adjacent, but like I grew up going to Hillside and all
Mhm.
staple art and culture events and festivals around. So I feel like yeah, very connected, and I care a lot about my community. Though I'm not living there currently, my heart will always be with Guelph. So yeah, I love making new connections, and I think the art community there, it is quite small, so it's easier to get things done sometimes. Everybody knows, and we
Mhm.
all know each other's skills, and yeah,
Yeah.
I really like that part of the Guelph's art community for sure. Hmm.
Yeah, just on my journey down Carden Street yesterday, I think I ran into 6 people I knew.
Yeah,
And it was like, wow, everybody's here on a Sunday morning.
yeah,
But that's Guelph.
yeah. It's
And that's part of the beauty of this city.
Oh yeah, yeah. I was there last week dropping things off because I just moved back from Halifax, and I was walking from my house to downtown, which is about 15 minutes, and I think I saw 4 people that I knew.
Yeah.
I'm not even living there right now, so
It takes forever to get anywhere.
totally, yeah.
So, what are some of the myths or misconceptions that you've encountered when either interacting with clients or people who interact with your content um,
Hmm.
surrounding sustainable fashion?
Hmm. Yeah, so I think the answer I'd originally written down was more about like um that all thrifting is good thrifting. I think there's still like a lot of young people, especially going out to thrift, find things secondhand, but they're designer brands, and designers don't necessarily make ethical or sustainable clothing. It's still in the name, and those garments can still have a lot of toxins in them. Fleece, for example, is not the best for the environment. There's a lot of microplastics that can come out in the wash and dry cycle. So I think it's still like paying attention to fabric content, what you're buying, and looking for quality over sort of name brand or like aesthetic. Although those things are still very fun and can be part of thrifting, it's just kind of having an eye and knowing exactly what is good,
Mhm.
not good. Um, But then, yeah, the other thing that comes to mind, I think, just in terms of running a business, a sustainable fashion business, is that um, yeah, people think that things can be done in a day. And you know what? Sometimes they can be. If I'm doing a simple t-shirt, I can get that done very quickly. But in terms of a dress or like something more complicated, I think a lot of my clientele, I for the most part, has had a like a good understanding that I need a bit more time. But
Hmm.
get the odd person who wants to, yeah, rush the process or pay less for how much time I've put into it. And I think that's something that I want to challenge, is that, you know, it really takes a lot of time and energy to yeah, make really quality and interesting pieces. And yeah, and doing that from a sustainable point of view as well is really important. And you want to pay for what you're getting. And so yeah, I think just advocating more about that in the business side of things. Mhm.
Yes, I feel that. I've
Yeah.
been a sewer for over 20 years and I worked in the textile industry for about a decade before moving into this job.
Hmm.
And we'd have, even people who want to do things themselves, they'd come in the night before Halloween and they'd pick out a ball gown pattern and be like, I can make this.
Hmm.
Well, you're gonna have a long night. But many of us don't realize what goes into that process of making a garment, or even the sort of order of operations of making a garment.
Hmm. Yeah.
But as more people learn, it's nice that there's so many resources now. There's so many platforms for learning on.
Yeah.
Um, this is not on the question list, but how did you learn to sew in the first place?
So this is something I'm like very honest with myself about. And I think if there's other artists on here, anybody watching this, that you might kind of understand where I come from with this. But like artists, creatives sometimes can have an ego. And I think for me, I've learned some from YouTube, but a lot of it has been trial by error. Because I want to have the full experience of like knowing, yeah, how to start something, how to finish it and do it like in my own way rather than
Mhm.
other people's way. Like I think that then can really come through in your work and show like a different kind of eye or like creative lens. So yeah, for me, I just practiced a lot on my sewing machine. I originally didn't have my own machine, so when I was at university, I was using the our arts like our art spaces machine, which was it was awful. It like always jammed. Had a lot of issues with the bobbin, but yeah, I would
Mhm.
practice and practice and um yeah, I was originally really into hand sewing, and I think that gave me a really good understanding for like those like fine motor skills. So I recommend like definitely starting with hand sewing and then moving into machine work. I think you have to build your foundations first.
Mhm.
Yeah, and then in terms of pattern drafting, I just kind of go for it. I know a little bit. I don't know a ton about like blocking and like creating, yeah, blocks for yourself, but I do just buy like easy patterns and sort of follow the instructions, and you
Mhm.
get like I think about putting pockets on or sewing shorts. I struggled with that for a long time, but the more you do it, it just comes to you very naturally. It's like second nature. So yeah, it's just practice.
Mhm.
YouTube is helpful, but I'd say try it. As long as you're not breaking your machine, just kind of go.
Yes.
Yeah. Mhm.
You can also come to the Guelph Tool Library's monthly craft night if you'd like some guidance or instruction with a sewing machine.
Great.
Shameless plug for some of my programs in the next couple of months.
But I think that's great too, because I don't think a lot of people know that you can go and use these resources. Like I think, yeah, I just learned about programs in Toronto. I mean, Toronto is a much bigger city, so there are more resources out there, but like you have to kind of look for it sometimes. And I think the more we can like talk about it, promote it, they're really useful. Machines can be expensive, they break if you don't know what you're doing. You want to have someone there to sort of walk you through it. So yeah, it's definitely a good program, good resource to have in Guelph in particular.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
So I've got a couple more questions. And one is, how can we make circular fashion more accessible?
Hmm. Yeah, so again, from my business side of things, I do set prices for my garments they make, but not everybody can necessarily afford that. And because I'm in this out of pure excitement and passion and not so much to make a complete living off of, I think the more makers that can feasibly implement a sliding scale into their business practice, that will make things more accessible and yeah, allow people to wear and enjoy your clothing that might not normally be able to due to price point. So that's one thing that I'm very, yeah, like again, would like to advocate for is just being more mindful of your audience and trying to build those connections and look at every single transaction, not only as a, yeah, transaction, but like an opportunity to make connection with the person who's wearing it. So if you can adapt your price, then do it if and when possible.
Yeah.
I also think I'm in a master's in art education, and the reason I'm in that is because I want to try and target younger audiences and like work in the education system to educate young people on sustainable fashion. And so I think that our curriculum, if we could build an education curriculum that talked about these issues sort of in real time, and like, you know, in a math curriculum, you can do a project on like landfill statistics and textiles and how that plays in.
Mm-hmm.
I think that it might maybe is not so much as accessible, but more just about like education and knowledge. But I think ultimately that will build out more accessible opportunities in the future when our younger generation knows, yeah, kind of what's going on in the world and from a climate from a climate change point of view. So I think that's one area. And then let me see if I had anything else. Oh, yeah, I just think writing down where you get fabric from. Like, is it donated? Did you buy it from a thrift store? Did you find it on the ground? Is it your grandma's old like quilting cotton? Just be really upfront and clear about what and where you got your fabric from and yeah, what kind of fabric it is. So those are the things that come to mind. And yeah, I think too, like in thrift stores, especially just marking prices down. Not it's not about profit, it's about reaching certain audiences and people's
Mm-hmm.
incomes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
creating sort of an accessible and equitable playing field
yeah,
for participating in this industry.
yeah.
And I love what you said about bringing it into other aspects of education,
Mm-hmm.
that you shouldn't have to be taking a environmental science or family studies program or something to be learning about how to apply these concepts into your life, and like, yeah, making them part of your math problems
Mm-hmm.
or making them part of like a business plan and a business program,
Yeah,
is such a good way to get that incorporated into just how we're thinking at a younger age.
yeah, yeah,
Awesome.
yeah.
Oh, and we've got a question or a comment. As educators, we can continue to help folks learn about the history and economics of textiles so that folks can have it as a background in economics.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Yeah. There's a great website. Oh yeah.
Third grade students. Oh, that's amazing.
There's a great website, the Textile Museum of Canada, a number of years ago, put out a project called Textile City, and it's a really neat mapping program or project that they were able to go and track different areas of Toronto that participate in the textile industry from both a historical and contemporary point of view. And so I think looking at projects like that and actually, yeah, building in those projects to school. Yeah, to different school programs will yeah, help students to kind of get that understanding both from yeah, like this comment says, like a history and economics point of view. So yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's great.
Mm-hmm.
And so lastly, what does a circular fashion economy look like to you?
Yeah, so this is a good question. I think there is only so much, yeah, I think you can only control what is it within yourself. And so I think educating yourself, staying true to your values, and seeing that through in all aspects of your life will um, contribute to, yeah, a circular fashion economy. So I guess what I mean by that is if you're environmentally conscious, you'll you'll get your clothes secondhand or you'll make them using repurposed fabric. You could also, buy from local farmers. Like it's that sort of value system that needs to thread itself through to all aspects of it. So I think the main thing is, yeah, just focusing on what you can control and what matters to you and being really true and strong in your values. And yeah, I also think I see a lot of people trying to get money for their old clothing, and I see a lot of these like fancy curated thrift stores trying to, or I wouldn't even call them thrift stores, they're like boutique, like vintage shops trying to monetize things that, again, from a historical point of view, like they don't actually know how that thing was made, who made it, what the material is half the time. So just questioning that, like, why does everything need to be monetized? And if it is being monetized, is this worth what you're saying it is? And if you're giving away your own clothing, think about whether or not you need the money personally to get back from, like, say, a vintage pair of shorts. Like maybe you could just donate that and give it to folks who are experiencing homelessness, or people who are
Mhm.
that need clothing. So just
Yeah.
being really strong in your values, and that will then come through circular fashion economy. Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, connecting with resources that have the capacity to rehome your goods in a demonetized way is a really important
Yeah.
factor.
Yeah.
Um, and so another shameless plug, but the swap this Saturday, we do have over 5,000 pieces of clothing that will be available for free, and folks don't have to contribute to the swap in order to participate and to take clothing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and same with the things like the repair cafe, where if you aren't able to go and pay for clothing repairs, which are can be quite cost prohibitive depending on what the garment is, uh, you can get it fixed at a repair cafe, and we're happy to do it and happy to show you how it's done so that you can then become the steward of that piece and make sure that it continues on as well as part of a circular fashion economy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, that's great. I wish I could do it on Saturday, but I'm working.
Yeah, we wish you could be there too, but
Yeah.
we are very thankful that you were able to join us today and that you've also donated a prize to our upcycled dinner.
Yes.
So if you are an attendee of the upcycled dinner, you can enter a draw to win a gift certificate for something from Double Dipped Clothing.
Yeah. And I have to send you the gift card. I'll work on that right after this. Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah. Well, yeah, well, thanks again so much. And yeah, I also want to just let people know, any makers that are on here. There's a really great reuse textile program at the Textile Museum as well, where you can go in and get fabrics that have been donated, and they're priced, and you can have them measured by the meter or by the whole bolt. There's also like other squares of fabric and things, and I think it's a really neat program that I just came across. So just wanted to let people know about that if you're looking for project ideas and inspiration. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I know we definitely have some makers who would love to take advantage of that program,
Mhm.
myself included. So thank you so much for joining us today. And thank you to everybody who's tuned in. Again, these conversations will be saved to our Instagram page and it's uploaded to our YouTube. So thanks so much. Take care.
Bye. Thank you.